Donald J. Trump standing in front of some kind of golden piano that looks like it belongs in like some Louis the 14th exhibit. But here he is, America's own Mad King, about to play us a symphony, a veritable Mozart. Tell us about his grievances, the things that are grinding his gears, and make some threats at foreign countries. Here we go. Are you ready? Are you ready? Which countries will the president-elect of the United States threaten today? Let's find out. I wish he'd just sit down at the piano. He should sing it, chat, one time. We know he's a zesty king, all right? Just like Louis the 14th. He's a zesty king. Why doesn't he just sit down at the piano and regale us with a immature symphony of his personal grievances? Anyway, chat, someday. It should be a harpsichord, though. Little Lord Trump at the harpsichord. Yes, there we go. Why is something about the sneakers? I don't know. I can't get my... Oh, wait, chat, you might not be able to see the sneakers. Here, let me change that. Oh, yeah, the sneakers are just out of frame for some of you. If I go here. They're still out of frame. Oh, well, whatever. The dude that he's walking out with has sneakers, if you can't see, if you're watching me on Shorts.
Thank you very much. It's an honor to be with you. Many things are happening that are exciting, very exciting for our country. And we're honored to welcome one of the most respected business leaders in the Middle East, indeed the world. He's a founder and chairman of Damac Properties, Hussein.
How many of you, when he says Hussein, think that he's talking about Obama? Because I swear to God, he's referred to Obama many times as the guy's middle name. But no, he is not in fact talking about Obama. He's talking about somebody whose first name is Hussein.
Sejwani, very respected gentleman. And I'm thrilled to announce today that Damac will be investing at least $20 billion over a very short period of time into the United States, and they may go double or even somewhat more than double that amount of money. It's a great thing, and I believe he will say that he's doing it because of the fact that he was very inspired by the election. They wouldn't do it without that election, I can tell you. A lot of people wouldn't. You saw last week where we have somebody who's going to go from $100 to $200 billion, and we have many other people, and we'll be bringing some of them out. Some of them like to do it somewhat more quietly. And
so the other thing that you might be confused about is when he says invest in the United States, is this millionaire like giving money to the federal budget? No, he's starting a business. Like, right? He's a job creator.
Some don't, and they feel so strongly about the country that they want to let people know about it. But it's an honor to have such a great investor investing in our country. The investment will support massive new data centers across the Midwest.
That's what we need, Chad. Isn't that what you wanted? Massive new data centers along the Midwest so that they can waste more energy on AI while you freeze to death in Texas?
The Sunbelt area, and also to keep America on the cutting edge of technology and artificial intelligence.
Yeah, data centers, not like not like integrating the grid so that people don't run out of don't lose heat in the winter in Texas.
He's very big into the data centers, and that's going to be a very hot item in the coming years. As you,
it's going to be a very hot item.
You know, with AI.
So remember, this is a guy that doesn't have any political experience. He has experience selling real estate. So you shouldn't really be surprised when he talks about hot items like this instead of, I don't know, any kind of policy.
In particular, the first
hot items he can understand.
Phase of the project will be in Texas, Arizona, Oklahoma, Louisiana, Ohio, Illinois, Michigan, and Indiana, those places. And Hussein...
sapping more energy out of the grid. Mine, baby, mine. Get that crypto.
Love you to come up.
We love crypto here, folks, don't we? We love the crypto. We love the crypto bros. All right. So there's his friend Hussein leaving the podium.
And that man knows what he's doing. He knows.
But does this man know what he's doing? Does this man know where he is, right? We've asked these questions about Joseph Robinette Brandon, but I don't believe we've asked these questions enough about Donald Jefferson Trump.
So, Hussein, we're going to work with you and make sure everything goes smoothly. We have powers that haven't really been used in terms of environmental. If you invest over $1 billion in the United States, we're going to give expedited reviews to everybody because everyone's afraid they're going to come in and get caught in the quagmire, which is very prevalent in the United States, unfortunately, the quagmire of environmental and various other regulations and rules.
So he's explicitly saying, if I can translate the Trumpian to you, that he is operating the government for the explicit interest of the capitalists, right? Of the people that own the companies. There's red tape. It's very hard. There's environmental reviews that have to go through. Let's just skip all that stuff. Let's just get rid of all that stuff. That's what I can do as president, is make it easier for the ownership class.
And I made it a point of telling people, if you invest $1 billion or more, and we'll do this for people with far less.
What is this, McDonald's? You get a free large fry. You invest $1 billion or more, that comes with a free supersizing for your fries.
But we guarantee it. We're going to move them quickly through the environmental process. Sometimes people held up 12, 13, 14, 15 years. I saw it with plants in Louisiana where I got it approved in literally a week. They were through the review in 1 week after spending 14 and a half years trying to get it, and they were going nowhere. It was a terrible thing. So I've been a victim of that myself over the years, and I think I know all the games and all the tricks that are played, and much of it is just done to stop progress. So we're going to be helping you and everybody else that comes to the United States and wants to invest their money, that you don't get tied up for the rest of your life and you can't do anything. This commitment further underscores that many of the greatest business leaders on earth are seeing.
You know, that'll be dissidents under the Trump administration that get tied up for the rest of their life and can't do anything.
A very bright economic future for America since the election. As you know, a lot of positive things have happened. We are inheriting a difficult situation from the outgoing administration, and they're trying everything they can to make it more difficult. Inflation.
So we're starting off, with personal grievance at the Biden administration.
Is continuing to rage, and interest rates are far too high. And I've been disappointed to see the Biden administration's attempt to block the reforms of the American people, and that they...
That's wild, Donald, because the interest rates are decided by the Fed. And generally, the Fed is supposed to be independent of the office of presidency, unless you're trying to get the Fed specifically to cut rates to make your economic record look better than it actually is.
We voted for. We had a landslide election. We won every swing state. We won the popular vote by millions and millions of people. Nobody even knows how many people, millions. And
that being said, the Fed is bullshit. And if you want to find more out about it, there's a great video by a YouTube channel called GDF that goes over the Fed and the role that they played in the deindustrialization of the United States of America, the beginning chapters of neoliberalism, which actually came not under Ronald Reagan, but under Jimmy Carter. You know, people are busy burnishing Carter's legacy since he just passed away. And yeah, you know, as a, in his post-presidency, Jimmy Carter did a lot of good things. Jimmy Carter compares favorably to most modern presidents. But that being said, you know, Jimmy Carter made some really bad decisions as well. And that don't know if we'll have time to go over the GDF video today.
Still counting in some areas. You know, they're still counting the vote in some areas. Can you believe this? What a.
You know what it is, chat? He's worried, right? So he's ahead right now by somewhere around 1.5%. Popular vote, right? Trump won by 1.5%. He's very proud of this. And you're going to hear how he talks about it, too, as being an achievement. Why is it an achievement? Because only one Republican has won the popular vote since 2000s. Wait a minute. We've had more than one Republican president, though. Right? But he's the second. He's the second. He's really proud of that, and he doesn't want anybody to take that out. He's like, they're still counting votes. He's got a creeping suspicion that somehow the popular vote is going to end up being not his this time, too. If we could just stop the votes counting, it's very annoying, folks. I like the results at the beginning of the evening. I don't need to hear further results. I don't want them to count further votes. Just as soon as I've got enough votes to be ahead, let's just lock it all up and wrap it all up, and we'll be the election. I mean, this is, probably where his paranoia about having thinking that he won the first election came from, right? It's the early results in 2020 were very favorable for Donald Trump. And to wake up the next day and have that flip, oh my God, chat, he looks not very alive. Look, I don't want to go spreading conspiracy theories, but I think that Biden and Trump were too old for office. And I think that that's going to show up in this term. I'm not convinced, chat, that Donald Trump is going to finish this term in office.
What a place. What a horrible place.
His mental and somewhat physical deterioration is becoming more and more visible, more and more undeniable.
One of the things we're going to do is we've got to fix the election so that we get honest counts and they get done by 10 o'clock in the evening or something thereabouts. They have placed.
Earthkeeper says Carter got screwed by Republicans and OPEC. Oh yeah, definitely. And during the, Carter was the victim of the Iran hostage, the Iran Contra hostage affair, which very likely cost him the election. Canadian Brunch, thank you for resubscribing on Twitch. Canadian Brunch says, hello, Irene. It's wonderful to see you again. Hey, it's wonderful to see you as always, Canadian Brunch. Good to have you with us tonight. We're doing a little Trump tent. Again, chat, this is a very long press conference. We won't watch the whole thing. I want to watch the beginning, and then I'm going to find where he talks about his plans for... I think most of the interesting stuff comes in the questions that they ask him, as far as Canada, Greenland, Panama, etc. go.
Places where they're still counting votes.
They should stop. They should stop. I don't want that number of my popular advantage to go down any further. I certainly don't want it to sink below zero. Like, look, chat, I don't think it will. I don't think it will. Like, I don't think he actually has anything to worry about. They are counting the votes still. And as they count more of those votes in places like California, his advantage, his popular advantage is shrinking. I don't think it's going to shrink below zero. Right. But he seems to be worried that that's what, like, he's like, why would you care? That's what they do. They count the votes. It takes a while. It's thorough. We want to count all the votes. He's like, no, we don't need to count all the votes. We don't need to count all the votes. Stop the votes.
President Biden's actions yesterday on offshore drilling.
Wasn't Iran Contra Reagan? So Roxy amused. Ronald Reagan ran against Jimmy Carter in the 1980 presidential campaign and won. And part of Ronald Reagan's victory in 1980 was due to the perception of Carter's mishandling of the hostage situations. Americans, after the Iranian Revolution, Americans were held hostage. Carter was unable to secure their safe passage back to the U.S. Little did we know at the time, little did anyone know, that the reason for this was that the Reagan administration was having conversations with the Iranians behind the scene, assuring them, I mean, this is Iran-Contra, right? So it starts in 1980, much like the Nixon scandal of Watergate refers to something that Nixon did in the 1972 election, obtaining the medical records of one of the Democratic primary challengers that he did not want to run against. Right, that was what Watergate was about. That was in '72, and then Iran Contra, which came out in the middle of the '80s, like what 19 like some maybe even into Reagan's. I don't know if it was in his first term or second term, but it stems back to acts that took place during the election. And very likely the reason that Carter lost was because he was unable to get those hostages back. Very likely the reason that Carter couldn't get the hostages back was because of the interference of the Reagan administration behind the scene. But yeah, it's a little bit more complicated. Yeah, Iran hostage crisis was both intertwined with each other. That's what I'm talking about, Steve Palmer. Thanks for, I don't think I was saying it correctly. Yeah, they intertwine with each other in that's why that sometimes people will say the term arms for hostages, right? So the allegations that, oh my God, page unresponsive. Come on. There we go. We gotta. Yeah, Ollie North is definitely involved in that. Wait. Oh, did it go back to top chat? Oh my God, it did. There's a certain chat that I'm trying to bring up here. There we go. Yeah. Intertwined with each other. But yeah, the arms for hostages deal was made, and it's not unprecedented either. Not from a Republican, right? You're right. Like I mentioned, Watergate from Nixon, having to do with some illegal, allegedly illegal activities. I don't know how the Supreme Court would see it now. I think they'd be okay with it, actually. Of the Richard Nixon administration, and the and then in '68. There were similar back channel negotiations between Richard Nixon's campaign and the North Vietnamese government, right, to prevent any sort of treaty from being signed under Johnson.
Banning offshore drilling will not stand. I will reverse it immediately. It'll be done immediately. And we will drill, baby, drill. And we're going to be drilling in a lot of other locations. I
gotta say, I find it disturbing that Trump never paid a price for stealing Sarah Palin's slogan. Can we get Sarah Palin right? So I don't know if anybody else said it first, but oh my God, come on. Sarah Palin, drill, baby, drill. This was her line. Nobody ever said it better than Sarah Palin.
Pristine.
Well, and we need to drill, though. Otherwise, I cannot believe that a domestic solution is any part of a national energy policy if they're not going to let Alaskans drill on our own lands and on federal lands within our own state. If a domestic solution isn't part of a national energy plan, then our nation is in a world of hurt. We're going to continue to be reliant on foreign dangerous regimes to feed our hungry markets. I find it ironic and I find it nonsensical that here we send Secretary Bodman, we even send our own president overseas to negotiate with the Saudis, to ask the Saudis ramp up oil production for us in America, when again, absolute nonsense, because Alaska has those resources already and we should be tapping these American supplies before we go over to the Saudis and ask
Say it.
them to do so. So very significant here what is going on, and I think our nation is at a crossroads also. We either better be making decisions to allow this American supply of energy to be tapped.
I mean, this is Trump's policy, right? What she's saying is identical to what you're hearing from Trump. Expanded drilling is the solution to every single one of our problems, according to Trump. It's all if it's not blaming if it's not blaming immigration, if it's not blaming the border, if it's not blaming Kamala Harris, then it's it's proposing drilling as the solution.
Or we're going to become more and more beholden to these foreign regimes. And again, our nation's going to be in a world of hurt when you talk about national security.
Drill, baby, drill.
Talk about ever.
Oh my God.
Towards energy independence if we cannot implement a domestic solution for this national energy policy.
You suck. Where's the drill, baby, drill? Here, I don't want to waste too much time on this.
In the meantime, we're all going to be in real trouble.
Let me clear something up. Senator McCain has said that he supports caps on carbon emissions. Senator Obama has said he supports clean coal technology, which don't believe you've always supported.
I have always supported it.
Well,
that's a fact.
Clear it up for us, both of you, and start with Governor Palin.
Yes, Senator McCain does support this. The chant is drill, baby, drill. And that's what we
Just so we're clear on this, the chant is drill, baby, drill.
hear all across this country in our rallies because people are so hungry for those domestic sources of energy to be tapped into. They know that even in my own energy producing state, we have.
There it is. Okay. Anyway, that's the closest we're going to get. I think she said it better, but whatever. Back to no. Back to this guy.
Energy costs are going to come way down. They'll
Drill, baby, drill.
brought down to a very low level.
I'm surprised he never tried to pull Sarah Palin into his cabinet.
That's going to bring everything else down. That's what caused it
There's probably a reason.
to go up, along with the ridiculous spending on the Green New scam, all this money, trillions of dollars. It's like throwing it right out the window, what they're doing. And they're trying
They didn't do it. They didn't do the Green New Deal.
to spend so much now. They're just taking money and giving it to anybody that wants it for any project.
But this is something that Biden totally fucked up on. Right? Instead of putting forward like a Build Back Better, he waited for other people to do it and just ended up just completely dialing back the scope of what was like America needed a New Deal, right? If you wanted to reelect a incumbent in 2024, given the state of things, that incumbent would have needed to do something economically for the working people, whether it be extend the benefits under COVID, the failed launch of the student loan forgiving program. Like there would have needed to be like a New Deal level program put into place to make people's lives easier. Because the problem that we have now, it's not that the unemployment rate is high. It's not. It's not that even inflation is particularly high at this moment. It's come down, right? The problem is that the American people have not had a pay rise in years. Pay has flatlined while production, which means what you do for your boss, the economic value of what you put in at work, the average worker out there has gone up. You've been making them more money and they've been paying you the same rate. And the minimum wage has not come up since 2007, I think, or 2009. Can't remember which, but fuck long time. That's what's going on. People don't have enough money. And there needed to be a program, several programs to address this. If you look at what happened in Mexico, they did address these things, right? The government of Mexico set aside certain items that were staples that everybody needs to feed their family. And, put and made sure that that those were available at a affordable price, right? The U.S. government would call that socialism, and so you don't get programs like that. And under the leadership of Biden, you really didn't get much of what we needed. Some of the things the Biden administration did were good, some long term, some short term, right? But there was a lot missing. There was a lot missing, and the fucking whole country is going to suffer 4 more years of this idiot because of that.
At all, if it's certified under the Green New scam, and they don't work, and it's too expensive, and they told me that we're going to do everything possible to make this transition to the new administration very smooth. It's not smooth because they're doing that. They're playing with the courts, as you know. They've been playing with the courts for 4 years, probably got me more votes because I got the highest number of votes ever gotten by a Republican, by far, actually, by a lot. And, we had a great election, so I guess it didn't work, but they're, even to this day.
I guess it didn't work. This is so much cope. Look, the one thing about winning this election that's a huge L for Donald Trump is it blows his lies about the 2020 election. This guy said that the election was straight up stolen from him, that the votes weren't real, that nothing about that was real, right? That somehow the Democrats have got control of the polling and they were able to straight up steal the election, right? That's bullshit. If that was true, he wouldn't be president right now. Unless whoever's really in charge wants him to be president. Unless you got some kind of even more half-cocked conspiracy theory about that. He won by a slight margin in a number of important states. It's not too big to rig. It's literally that your coalition came out, right? Your low propensity voters came out, and Kamala's did not. If the election was stealable, and the thieves were the Democrats, they would have stolen this one. All right. So you got to eat shit about the lies that you've told, by which you justified a bunch of your supporters going into the Congress and attempting to hogtie the legislatures to prevent them from the, transmission of power from you, the loser, to the winning candidate. As far as anyone fucking believing that this guy even thought that he had the election stolen from him, I think that goose is cooked.
They're playing with
as cooked as this guy's brain is. And we're going to see that over the next 4 years. Mark my words, all right? Biden and Trump were too old to govern. We're too old to be considered for the nomination. We live in a gerontocracy. And this whole thing of wheeling Dianne Feinstein out to do a vote or, hiding Joe Biden's obvious cognitive decline, or the denial that Donald Trump is not fucking on planet Earth half the time, right?
With the courts, have their friendly judges that like to try and make everybody happy on the Democrat side. It's called Lawfare. It's called weaponization of justice, and it's happened at a level nobody's ever seen before. So many I defeated.
So look, Lawfare is a real thing, and it's along the lines of what happened to Lula da Silva in Brazil. Luckily for Brazil, they did the exact opposite of what the United States did. After their January 6th, there were legal consequences for the people responsible. Like right after Bolsonaro had his term, Lula was freed, and Lula ran and Lula won. And you're going to see, in the not too distant future, that the United States is going to recede, and countries like Brazil are gonna be doing a lot better.
Deranged Jack Smith. He's a deranged individual. I guess he's on his way back to The Hague. And we won those cases. Those were the biggest ones. And the press made such a big deal out of them, but we did nothing wrong. We did nothing wrong on anything. And the people saw that. When they vote when a Republican, it's not easy for a Republican. When the Republican wins the popular vote by...
Here he's like he's trying, look, I mean, the media does have a double standard, right? The media does grade him on a curve, for sure. The media treats him like with kid gloves, because that's the only way that you can maintain anything close to what sounds like neutrality, which is what you're supposed to have in the media, right? Donald Trump is just constantly shitting his electoral pants, and they've got to always, well, if we're going to mention what he did that was fucked up, we got to find something that, but also, you know, Kamala screwed up on this. Also, Biden screwed up on this. We got to find something on the other side to do. And that's challenging. It's challenging because Donald Trump is just a fucking constant cavalcade of catastrophe. Just dog shit follows this man wherever he goes, as almost as if he was tracking it on his shoe, chat. This is the situation that the United States of America has gotten itself into with this guy.
Millions. And wins all 7 of the swing.
But here he is saying, I won the popular vote. That's very hard for a Republican to do. You're just like admitting that people don't fucking like your party. You're just admitting that the only reason that you ever win is because the antiquated machinations of the way that the electoral vote works in this country, which is not by popular vote, it's by the electoral, yes, the electoral college, the electoral college, right? And the Senate, and there's so many anti-majoritarian mechanisms in this government by which the Republicans have held on to power and pretty much, you know, judicially speaking, ruined the legitimacy of the courts for the foreseeable future.
Swing states, people said, well, he could win 4. We won all 7, and we won them by a lot. That tells you we won. That tells, and they've been watching this.
So yeah, he's still, the TLDR is he's worried that he's going to lose his 1.5% popular vote win. I don't think he is going to, right? I think he's just paranoid. But you know, he wants to stop the votes from being counted, I guess. But whatever, he'll probably end up at like 1.3, 1.4, 1.5, something like that by the end of it. But he'll still have won the popular vote. But yeah, you can't stop this guy from
injustice.
You can't stop this guy's persecution complex, right? He won, and he's like, oh no, I don't like it that they're counting the votes. Don't count all those votes. I liked it back when it said I won by 2%. Yeah, I mean, he won, but it's by one of the smallest margins in history.
Call it the Injustice Department. What they've done is so bad. The whole world has watched that. And it took work, but it got me a lot of votes because when explained, I mean, we have a judge in New York who's a very crooked judge. I'm under a gag order. I can't even talk about aspects of the case that are the most vital aspects. I'm under a gag. Do you know that I'm the president?
You're under a gag order? You're not going to gag on the mic again, are you?
Elect of the United States of America. I'm a former very successful president. We had the greatest economy in the history of our country. We had borders that were sealed and beautiful. We had, everything was good. We had no wars. We defeated ISIS. We had no wars. Now I'm going into a world.
Wait, I'm sorry.
Russia and Ukraine. With
look, that's when I got to take out of your column, bud. What was the guy? What was the guy that ran over people in New Orleans? What was his reason for doing that? Oh yeah, ISIS. Yeah. Good job stomping out ISIS.
Israel. You took a look at that attack on October 7th. The attack on Israel. With the horrible way they got out, not the fact that they got out. I would have been out before them, but we would have been out of Afghanistan with dignity and.
Oh, here we go. Let me show you the landslide. All right, you want to see the landslide? Check out this guy's landslide. So if you're watching on shorts, it might be hard to see. It might be really small letters here. But this is a these are the popular margins for presidential elections going back to, it looks like Calvin Coolidge is the earliest. All right, so look, Nixon in 1968 won by less than Trump. Kennedy in 1960 won by less than Trump. Bush actually lost the popular vote, and Trump, oh God, chat, here's an interesting statistic. In 2016, Trump lost the popular vote, okay, now check this out, by more than he won the popular vote by. Now, this is giving him 1.7. I think this is a little dated. I think it's like around 1.5 now, but whatever. Give him 1.7, right? He won by less than Carter did in 76. All right, and every other, number here is just like, so if you want to know what a landslide looks like, Coolidge, 25.2%. Roosevelt, 1936, 24.3%. Nixon, 1972, 23.2%. Johnson, 1964, against Barry Goldwater. And yes, Hillary Clinton was out there, working for the Goldwater campaign, working for the racist campaign, right? Only to turn around and say that Bernie Sanders is the racist years later, but whatever. Johnson, 22.6%. Reagan, 1984, 18.2%. Roosevelt, 1932, 17.8%. Hoover, 1928, 17.4%. Eisenhower, 1956, 15.4%. 52, 10.9%. Roosevelt in 1940, 10%. Reagan. That's the modern definition of a landslide, okay? Reagan, his landslide in 1980. Wait, where's the Reagan? Actually 84 was probably that's probably the bot. So that's what we're talking. I'm sorry. Yeah, he ran twice in 84. He won by 18.2%. I mean, that's the definition. When we talk about a modern landslide, we're talking about Reagan, or at least we're talking about Obama. Oh, here in 2008, 7.3%, right? Trump is at less than a third of that. Like, Trump is at a fraction of what we would call a landslide. This is 1.7%. So anyway, he's going to say it was a landslide. He was going to say, I won all the swing states. Yeah. And here you are down here underneath Jimmy Carter. Trump, that's got to bother you. You know what else is bothering him this week? Jimmy Carter passed. And when a president passes, it's kind of a former president passes. It's kind of a big deal, right? They do this thing with the flag. I don't know if you know this, right? But I'm sure you've seen this. They take the flag down to half-mast, right? When an important person dies, especially a former president. Trump is going to be inaugurated in front of a flag at half-mast because Carter died when he did. And he's mad about it. He's resentful of Jimmy Carter. And yes, that does have a connection to the Panama canal policy that he's going to discuss in just a second.
Any badly, horrifically injured, nobody ever talks about them. No arms, no legs. Nobody ever talks about them.
Nobody ever talks about October 7th, is what Bro just said. I feel like I've heard a bit about October 7th. Thank you very much, Mr. President.
Outrageous, leaving billions of dollars of brand new military equipment that I bought in the hands of the Afghans and specifically the Taliban. It's the group. And
so yeah, this candidate of peace that had no wars stayed in a forever war for all 4 years of his term. Did not get us out of Afghanistan, which this country went into in like 2002 or 2001. I'm not sure which, but has been, wouldn't get us out of the forever war, had no problem assassinating members of foreign militaries, an act of war that can very likely start a war, and did as much droning as Obama, who people are constantly pointing out that inconsistency. Obama, another supposed peace candidate who did not live up to his name.
We were doing very well. We would have been out. We would have been respected. I think it's one of the reasons it was so bad.
But I just couldn't do it during my first term, just like you couldn't do anything during your first term except for cut taxes for billionaires.
They handled that withdrawal where people are jumping onto airplanes, falling off the sides of airplanes when they're 3,000 feet in the air. And nobody's ever seen anything like that, the worst.
unfortunately, we have seen stuff like that every time the United States puts into place a puppet government. We saw something like this happen in Vietnam.
And because of that, I think Russia went and attacked Ukraine. When they saw that, they said, these guys are incompetent. They don't know what they're doing. But we know what we're doing now.
Yeah, that's it. That's it.
And that's going to all end. And we have a great military. I defeated ISIS. As you know, we're in no wars. I just finished a couple. And we got also our soldiers guarding Syria and Turkey. We're in the middle. We had 5,000 soldiers. They would have been gobbled up with two armies. We had one army, 300,000. We had another one, 500,000 or 600,000, getting ready. We had 5,000 people in the middle. I said to a general, how do 5,000 people do in that case? And the general just looked at me and said, not well, sir, not well. And I took him out. And you know what happened? Nothing. I got criticized.
Anybody who knows foreign policy, you just head palmed with me just then.
But now there are freaking communist invading radicals.
Saved 5,000 lives, actually. And
look, the problem with the United States is that they go into foreign countries and interfere in the first place, right? If you look at bin Laden, you can sort of trace bin Laden back to having been used as a United States asset in the Soviet invasion of Afghanistan. In order to give the Soviets their very own Vietnam, the United States armed the Mujahideen, of which Osama bin Laden was fighting alongside, and gave them training and gave them weapons, right? And then who do we end up dealing with in 2001? Oh, look, it's Osama bin Laden again. Almost like there's blowback from this kind of shit, right? So until you stop fucking around in the Middle East, and yes, Trump, that includes what you're doing with Israel. That includes allowing Israel to occupy, to annex the Golan Heights, right? And I'm sure the plans that are underway to let them do the same thing to the West Bank. Right? That kind of shit has blowback. It doesn't matter if you start a war or not. When you interfere in that way, you are seeding a war in the future, just like he did with his fail son, Jared Kushner, going in there to negotiate behind the back of the Palestinian people between Israel and other countries in the Middle East. That directly led to the events of October 7th.
We did a great job, and we're going to do an even better job because now we have a tremendous amount of experience. We have people that I can rely on.
I feel like you got rid of the experience. We got people that we can rely on. You've got minions. You've got mini-me's. You've got little creepy people that are completely beholden to you, that are not qualified for the job that you're putting them in there for, but that will nonetheless do your complete bidding.
But the 625 million acres, people can't realize, it's like the whole ocean. Take an acre. An acre, you have a house on a half an acre, on a quarter of an acre, or an acre. If you have an acre, you have a big deal. Now you multiply that by 625 million acres. It's like, feels like
that's a lot of acreage.
Whole ocean. And that's our strength, People can say...
Somebody want to tell me how many acres the quote-unquote whole... When he says whole ocean, is he talking about the Atlantic Ocean? Is he talking about a combination of all oceans? I'm not sure what he even means, but yeah, I feel like it's a bit more acreage than that.
We manufacture, we don't manufacture.
Just say it's a lot of acres. Leave it at that.
We have oil and gas more than anybody in the world. And we're going to have more of it, too.
Because we're going to get Greenland. We're going to take Canada. We're going to take Greenland.
But they took away...
We're going to get more of it too, yo. He's so excited about this shit. That's why I say, look, people are saying that either he's not serious about some of these threats in terms of Canada, in terms of Greenland, in terms of Panama. Maybe not, right? Is this a negotiating tactic? Possibly. All right. But I want to remind you, this is not a rational actor that we've got here. You've elected one of the most profoundly ignorant, willfully ignorant individuals in the history. You have elected a real estate fail son who has conned his way into celebrity status. Everything he has touched has turned to shit. And now stands before you boldly proclaiming that only he understands how the world really works.
Because it was so peaceful up here, but now there are freaking communist invading radicals.
And it's a special kind of privilege to be able to assert one's own ignorance as wisdom.
It was so peaceful up here, but now there are freaking communist invading.
It's a special kind of privilege that only an American fail son like Donald Jefferson Trump would receive. Right? Like I said, this guy's graded on a curve. He's been graded on a curve all his life. You bet he was graded on a curve in Wharton Business College.
25 million acres of offshore drilling. Nobody else does that. And they think they have it, but we'll put it back. I'm going to put it back on day one. I'm going to have it revoked on day one. We'll go immediately if we need to. I don't think we should have to go to the courts, but if we do have to go to the courts, you know, they try to be sneaky. They go in and they sign. Remember, this is a man that said he wants the transition to be smooth. Well, you don't do the kind of things. You don't have a judge working real hard to try and embarrass you, because I did nothing wrong. By the way, I did nothing, absolutely nothing wrong. If I did something wrong, I wouldn't be standing here right now, because I've won all these cases. Nobody's ever won so many cases as I have against the Justice Department. I mean, Jack Smith had cases all over the place. People were being subpoenaed, lives were being ruined. They were spending everything they had, money. We were helping them out. We had to. They were subpoenaing people that had no idea what they were even talking about. That's a sick group of people. And it was all to influence the election. It was all a fight against a political opponent. We've never had that in this country. We have had that in certain countries. We've had that in third-tier countries. We've had that in banana republics, but we've never had that in a place like the United States. I don't even know if it's been on a small level. I'm sure it has been on a small level, but this was the largest level ever. They brought this moron out of The Hague. He's a mean guy. He's a mean, nasty guy. His picture was perfect, because you look at his picture, you say, that's a bad guy.
I'm looking at a picture right now, Donald, and I'm thinking that's a bad guy.
With his robe, his purple robe.
His purple robe, that robe is scary.
And he executes people. He shouldn't be allowed to execute people, because he'll execute everybody. He's a nut job.
I mean, if only, Donald, if only.
But we won all of those cases with him. And, I mean, I don't know the judge in Florida, but we had a brilliant judge in Florida that saw right through it. And we won the case. She was a brilliant judge.
You had a judge, I believe, that you appointed. That sounds like some home cooking. That sounds like some corruption. But I thought MAGA was against corruption. No, they just made the swamp 100% more fetid and diseased, right? They just made the swamp water thicker.
With great courage.
The only problem with the swamp for Trump is that he's not head alligator. But now he solved that. Now he solved that because he's able to con people. He's tricked more people, and they're having buyer's remorse already. Remember the MAGA people that thought that Trump was all about America first? Gotta save the purity of the blood of the country? Well, looks like he's not on your side on the H-1B visas issue. Now, you've got, some very fucked up reasons for opposing that. Most of them are racist, to be completely honest with you. But that is an exploitive program that requisitions workers for the capitalist overlords that they can exploit easier than they can exploit American workers. American workers have citizenship, right? H-1B visa holders, their ability to stay in the United States is tenuous, and it's based on their bosses being happy with them. So, you can ask these people to work ridiculous hours. You can pay these people phenomenally low wages. But you got thrown under the bus, Laura Loomer. Aw, you got thrown under the bus, Charlie Kirk. Aw, did you think that Trump was going to come along and enact your perfect little racist policies? Nope. That's not what he's about. It was never about what you thought it was about. It was 100% about class. And this guy's a billionaire. Where do you think his class interests lie? Oh my gosh, did in an attempt to fuck over the elite, in an attempt to put the thumb in the eye of the elite, did we just elect the elite? Did we just give Elon Musk a backdoor into power? I think you did. I think you did. And I see a lot of you out there already experiencing buyer's remorse. There's only going to be more in the next 4 years. This presidency hasn't even started yet. And you're seeing how full of shit this guy was. And you're seeing who he really stands with. What he's really about. What he's always been about. This motherfucker doesn't care about people like you. He never has. He cares about the silver spoon in his own mouth. That is it. That is it. He wants to buy credibility with the rest of the wealthy through clout. And you let him. Congratulations. Congratulations.
You know,
it's going to be a beautiful year.
The left, as we call them, the radical.
As we call them.
They have a way.
The left maxers, folks.
They play the ref. And they play it very hard. They play the ref. They go and say horrible things about judges and prosecutors.
Wait, who's saying horrible things about judges? This is the guy that couldn't stand the idea that a Mexican-American judge would preside over his case. He thought it was inherently, this guy was going to be inherently biased because he's Mexican. Right? You want to tell me about saying bad things about judges? What the fuck?
And some judges and prosecutors say, look, the only way I'm going to get these people off my back is to give victory to them. They're playing the ref. I think it's illegal what they do. It's almost like talking. It's worse than talking to a judge. But the judge in Florida, Judge Cannon, was brilliant and tough, and she didn't stand for
the most corrupt fucking judge that will be looked back in the history books as such, as somebody that was in the pocket of the person she was presiding over, whose case she was presiding over. Right? That is, you want to see corruption? There it is. There it is. Right? It's just one example of how our system is corrupt.
But now there are freaking communist invasions.
Just one small example, right, of how our judiciary is fucked.
And I don't know her.
So peaceful up here, but
and
now there are freaking
never met her until the case. I don't believe I said even one word to her. But she was very, very strong and very, very brilliant, and her opinion was...
You didn't have to. You appointed her.
So brilliant that they dropped their appeal. They couldn't beat the appeal. So that's what we're up against. So they say we're going to have a smooth transition. All they do is talk. It's all talk.
Again, I was saying before, Biden, we could do with a little bit more communication. Trump, I feel like we could do with a little bit less. They are both old men deep into their senility that belong nowhere near the levers of power, right? But there's a very different manifestation from somebody just talking mindlessly about the late, great Hannibal Lecter, just somebody that can't hold a press conference, somebody that can't push back against, narratives against him, somebody that won't bring in front of the press because they're afraid he's going to have a meltdown, because he probably will. Somebody who has finally beat Medicare, Jack. He's got hairy legs. And it was right there in the beginning in 2020, right? In the primary, you could see, like, you just got to listen to him talk about the hairy legs speech, and people are like, oh no, he's a cute old man. No, he's senile. He's senile.
Smooth transition, and then they take 625 million acres and they essentially landmark it so you can't ever drill there again. Well, we're going to be drilling soon. We're going to be opening up Anwar. We're going to be doing all sorts of things that nobody ever thought was even possible. But remember and just to get off the subject, because I couldn't believe it when I heard it yesterday. I couldn't believe the size of it. I mean, you put down a map and put this up. It's just massive. And remember that that's worth probably, I mean, I've had estimates, 40 to 50 trillion. Tough.
Okay, so we're going to go for...
Would have been before it started.
Look, chat, as much as I'd like to sit here and listen to 1 hour and 12 minutes of this guy, of the yapper. Look, you know how Reagan was the gipper? When one went for the gipper? This is the yapper. We got the yapper now. All right, he's just going to yap for 1 hour and 12 fucking minutes. And he doesn't say much of anything, but here are the interesting things he did say about Greenland, about the Panama Canal, and yes, apparently about Canada. Wait, should we? I think this. Are we in the questions and answers phase? Maybe. Trying to see if he points to the. No, I think he's still just yapping. So yeah, I mean, he's gonna yap for a while, and then they're gonna ask him some questions, and he's gonna yap some more. That's what we got.
I can tell you that.
The yapper.
The deal could have been made
Yapper in chief.
just by an average deal maker. Deal could have been made on that. So thank you all for coming. We'll take a couple of questions.
Oh, there we go. There we go. So it is right where the questions start. All right, here we go. This is the interesting part, chat.
Go ahead, please.
President, thank you. Wanted to touch on
So quiet.
the world on fire that you mentioned, but let's start, if we could, with your references to Greenland and the Panama Canal, so forth. Can you assure the world that as you try to get control?
I love how the media loves to sane-wash this guy. He's trying to throw Trump a bone, for the record, right? Anybody that's out there that thinks the media is super liberal and they're always trying to go after Trump and they're asking him mean questions, right? This guy's throwing him a life preserver. Now, certainly, sir, when you talk about going out after Greenland and the Panama Canal, you don't mean in a military sort of way, because you sort of left us hanging on that. You didn't say one way or another. So here's your chance to easily say, oh, no, of course, I don't mean invading other countries. I just mean that, you know, it's our canal. We dug it, and so we should get it back, right? You know, you'd think that that's what he's going to say. Nope. Check him out.
You are not going to use military or economic coercion?
Sir, you certainly are not going to use any military or economic coercion, are you? Certainly not. No, never. That's not what you meant. People are so ridiculous, sir. They make all kinds of assumptions from the crazy things that you say. But obviously, they're the most sane versions of those things is what you actually mean, right? Because I've been defending you. I've been sweeping for you, Mr. President. Please tell me you're not making me lie on your fucking behalf.
And can you tell us a little bit about what your plan is? Are you going to negotiate a new treaty? Are you going to ask the Canadians to hold a vote? What is the strategy?
Yeah, I can't assure you, you're talking about Panama and Greenland. No, I can't assure you on either of those two. But I can say this, we need them for economic security. The Panama Canal was built for our military. I'm not going to commit to
Chat, that reporter just passed the ball to Trump for the perfect layup, and he just threw it out into the stands. He's like, fuck no, I can't guarantee you that. I won't guarantee. No, I won't guarantee. We won't use military in Canada or wait, what in Panama, in Greenland? No, I'm not saying that. I'm not going to say that. I'm going to leave that out there. I'm going to leave that out there.
to that now. It might be that
we will go in with fucking military to get our Lebensraum. But don't worry, chat. This guy's not a fascist, right? No, he hasn't done he hasn't checked all of the Hitler boxes yet. So he's not officially a fascist. We got a few more steps left, right? He is talking about detentions, mass detentions. I don't know where those detentions would take place. Generally, something like that happens in a camp of sorts, a camp where you maybe concentrate many individuals that your country finds undesirable, right? But Chad, no, don't go crazy. It's nothing fascist. There's nothing fascist about that.
you'll have to do something. Look, the Panama...
Like, don't call him fascist until he's done fascism, right? He's on... Let him cook. Let him cook. Let's let him cook. Let's see what he cooks up. He's got some a recipe from 1930 whatever from Bavaria or Austria. Let's see what he cooks.
Canal is vital.
Let's see what kind of labor costs Trump's got for us.
To our country. It's being operated by China. China. And we gave the Panama Canal to Panama. We didn't give it to China. And they've abused it. They've abused that gift. It should have never been made, by the way. Giving the Panama Canal is why Jimmy Carter lost the election, in my opinion, more so maybe than the hostages. The hostages were a big deal. But if you remember, and nobody wants to talk about the Panama.
There we go. So there's the Jimmy Carter tie-in for you. Again, he's resentful from Jimmy Carter. Now, ostensibly, the two of them knew each other or had met each other, and there wasn't like a bad relationship between them or anything like that. But he's having to lower the flag during his inauguration, and he'll never forgive Jimmy Carter's corpse for that. Like, his body's not even cold, and Trump is talking shit about this. And again, Chad, I'm no fan of Carter's. I actually blame Carter for the beginning of the neoliberal era. But yeah, I'd have the tact not to complain about the flag being lowered for the guy.
Panama Canal now because, you know, it's inappropriate, I guess, but because it's a bad part of the Carter legacy. But he was a good man. Look, he was a good man. I knew him a little bit, and he was a very fine person, but that was a big mistake. Giving the Panama Canal to Panama was a very big mistake. We lost 38,000 people. It cost us the equivalent of $1 trillion, maybe more than that. Probably the most expensive, they say it was the most expensive structure, if we call it a structure, which I guess you can, ever built. And giving that away was a horrible thing. And I believe that's why Jimmy Carter lost the election.
Yeah, let him cook, right? He hasn't done fascism yet. Let him cook.
Because it was so peaceful up here, but now there are freaking...
Let him cook.
Unser Hupsi schmeckt nicht wie ihr Vater Schwamm,
Let him cook.
sondern hat richtig Biss. Wird mit wenig Fett und viel Magerfleisch als artgerechter...
Let him cook, chat. Let him cook. He's busy cooking.
Even more so than the hostages. Those two things.
If I could talk on Ukraine and Iran, the two negotiations you'll be heading into. On Ukraine, you said just before it's a lot more complicated now.
Much more complicated.
Do you believe...
Because it would have never started.
Right, but it has started. You've
Well,
got,
not only started, the cities are largely knocked down.
so
they're
you've
they're
got
like,
what you've got. At this point, to hold on to leverage in dealing with President Putin, would you make a commitment to the Ukrainians that you will keep
Unser
supporting
Hupsi
them during
schmeckt
the
nicht wie
well, I
ihr Vater
wouldn't tell
Schwamm.
you if
Would
that
you-
were
and
the
would you
case.
make a commitment to provide a security guarantee if they do enter into a armistice or a ceasefire along the lines that the French and the Germans?
So, you know, a big part of the problem was Russia for many, many years, long before Putin said you could never have NATO involved with Ukraine. Now, they've said that. That's been, like, written in stone. And somewhere along the line, Biden said, no, they should be able to join NATO. Well, then Russia has somebody right on their doorstep, and I could understand their feeling about that. But there were a lot of mistakes made in that negotiation. And when I heard the way that Biden was negotiating, I said, you're going to end up in a war. And it turned out to be a very bad war. And it could escalate. That war could escalate.
So again, we're blaming Biden for a war that Putin started. That's wonderful. That's why, yeah, you negotiated so bad that Putin had to invade. What else was he supposed to do?
To be much worse than it is right now.
They can never join NATO.
Well, my view is that it was always understood. In fact, I believe that they had a deal, and then Biden broke it. They had a deal, which would have been a satisfactory deal to Ukraine and everybody else, but that Biden said, no, you have to be able to join NATO. And that's always been, and nobody knows more about NATO than I. You know, years ago, when I first started this, I didn't know too much about NATO, but I got it right anyway. History of our country.
Let's go over some of the other things that that our Zesty King has gotten right about Canada and how they want to be the 51st state.
4 years, by 4 times more than any other president cut. We did that in 4 years, and we were just getting started. We'll impose new tariffs so that the products on our stores will once again be stamped.
So again, chat, this guy was elected because prices were too high, and he's talking about tariffs to make the prices higher.
With those beautiful words, made in the USA. And
well, you'll be, listen, you won't be able to afford food, all right? But the food that you can't afford is going to say made in the USA, and you'll be really proud as an American that those eggs, that bacon that you can't afford, it was made in the USA. It's okay. You know, we would have, you know, you're not going to have the cheaper Canadian products. You're going to have to, the made in the USA, you won't be able to afford it. You won't be able to eat anything. You won't be able to afford your apartment. You'll be out on your ass. You'll be, you know, pulled into one of Trump's, like, you know, homeless concentration camps. But don't worry, all the food in the grocery store that you can't afford will be made in America. That's going to be great.
we are not treated well, as you know, by Canada. Canada is...
Yeah, the Canadians are so mean. That's what I think of when I think of Canadians. They don't treat you well.
...subsidized to the tune of about $200 billion a year, plus other things. They don't essentially have a military. They have a very small military. They rely on our military. It's all fine, but, you know, they got to pay for that. It's very unfair. I have so many great friends. One of them is the great one, Wayne Gretzky.
Is Wayne Gretzky a chud?
Said, run for prime minister, you'll win it'll take 2 seconds. But he said, well, am I going to run for prime minister?
So, chat, this guy's got the right-wing candidate for Canada, Pierre Polnareff, I believe his name is. His name is Polnareff, right, chat? He's the French dude with the silver chariot stand in JoJo's, right? Pierre Polnareff. He's saying that Canada will not become the 51st state, right? That's now a campaign issue. That's now a campaign issue that the right-wing candidate is like going against him on.
Minister or governor, you tell me. I said, I don't know, let's make it governor. I like it better. But no, something's going to have to be done. Same thing with Mexico. We have a massive deficit with Mexico.
Same thing with Mexico. We might also annex Mexico.
And we help Mexico a lot. They're essentially run by the cartel.
We help Mexico a lot? How about we destable the fuck out of their country?
Else.
And then when people try to immigrate, we fucking run, you know, racist political campaigns against them.
And can't let that happen. Mexico's really in trouble, a lot of trouble. Very dangerous place. And we're going to be announcing at a future date pretty soon. We're going to change because we do most of the work there and it's ours.
We're just going to take Mexico. What can I say?
Change. You're sort of the opposite of Biden, where he's closing everything.
Now, look, chat, some people are saying that these provocative statements, which, you know, in the name of this in diplomacy is saber rattling, when you are hinting that, you know, another country's land or, you know, another country belongs to you, and that you know, when somebody asks, but you're not going to send troops, are you? Well, I'm not ruling that out yet. That's called saber rattling, right? And it doesn't always mean that you're going to war. It can be a negotiation tactic. However, it's not something you do to allies, right? It's not something you do to your friends. And the United States has had relatively decent relationships with both Mexico and Canada in the past. Now we've got a president-elect that is unwilling to rule out military intervention with these states, as if we haven't done enough to Mexico.
Essentially getting rid of $50 to $60 trillion worth of assets. We're going to be changing the name.
Oh, here we go, chat. Here's the, check this out, right? The Gulf of Mexico? Why should it be the Gulf of Mexico?
The Gulf of Mexico to the Gulf of America.
The Gulf of America. Aren't you proud?
Which has a beautiful ring that covers a lot of territory. The Gulf of America. What a beautiful name. And it's appropriate.
We're going to change the name of Canadian geese to North American geese. It has a beautiful ring to it, folks. These are American geese. They spend half of their time in America. They're not Canadian geese.
It's appropriate. And Mexico has to...
We're going to take their geese. Remember the guy that said that the Haitians were taking the geese, right? It turns out we're taking the geese.
Allowing millions of people to pour into our country. They can stop them.
We're eating the cats and dogs.
And we're going to put very serious tariffs on Mexico and Canada, because Canada, they come through Canada too, and the drugs that are coming.
So yeah, the countries, if you haven't been keeping track at home, the countries that he has implied that he wants to put very serious tariffs against make up 45% of America's trade. So get ready for a lot of shit to become a lot more expensive, right? Get ready for like 45% of shit to become more expensive.
Through are at record numbers. So we're going to make up for that by putting tariffs on Mexico and Canada.
But now there are freaking
substantial
communist
tariffs.
invading radicals.
And we want to get along with everybody, but you know, they have to, it takes
chat.
So peaceful up here, but now there are freaking communist invading radicals.
If there's one nation that's constantly putting sanctions, tariffs, banking freezes on other countries, and leveraging the fact that it is the oh my god, what do you call it?
Izzy Sanchi super chatted $5. Have you seen the president of Mexico's response to Trump's?
We should watch that. We should watch that.
She responded.
She responded to this. We'll take a look at that's Claudia Sheinbaum, that president of Mexico, who responded to this. Again, one of the candidates who you know, she was a member of the incumbent party, that being Morena, and one of the people running as an you know, she wasn't an incumbent, right? But she was in the incumbent party, right? And she won, and it's because Morena handled the, you know, affordability crisis very differently than the Biden administration, right? It's definitely something to be studied and learned from. But yeah, thank you for the super chat, Izzy Sanchez. We'll take a look at that after this. That sounds...
Two to tango. We're approaching the dawn of America's golden age. It's going to be a golden age for...
A golden age, right? A gilded age. A second gilded age. You know what the first gilded age was? It was this thing that happened when industrialization came to America, and more things started to be owned and controlled by people called the robber barons, right? They were the captains of industry. You call them captains of industry because they ran the whole industry. They didn't just run their business. They monopolized their whole industry, and they made huge profits on the back of American workers. That's what Bro is talking about here. He wants a return to that. He is saying that the concentration of wealth in the upper class is not concentrated enough, and we need to gild the fuck out. I mean, he is the Gilded Age. Look at everything that this man has is like, you know, painted in gold, right? He is the very epitome of the Gilded Age.
For America, we have things that nobody else has. We have more natural resources. We have, number one, nobody knew that until I came along. I made us number one.
Nobody knew we had natural resources. I found that oil. I sniffed it out, folks.
3, I made us number one in a very short period of time in drilling.
He's Daniel Plainview.
And you know, you can talk about windmills. They litter our country. They're littered all over our country.
He's like drainage.
Like dropping paper, like dropping garbage in a field. And that's what happens to them, because in a period of time, they turn to garbage. Most expensive energy ever.
Oh, God, he hates windmills. Yeah, this is his Don Quixote shtick. This is his Don Quixote routine, right? He's going to tilt literally at windmills.
They only work if you get subsidy.
And I've heard they're actually giants, folks. They're big giants that we must fight with as a brave knight goes forth into battle for the love of Dulcinea. Folks, I will get on your donkey, Sancho. We're fighting the giants.
People that want them are the people that are getting rich off windmills, getting massive subsidies from the U.S. government. And it's the most expensive energy there is. It's many, many times more expensive than clean natural gas.
It's wind. It's fucking wind. It's there in the air. And you can put a propeller to capture the energy, the kinetic energy, right? But no, it's the most expensive energy, folks. It's tearing us apart. It's bad for the birds. It's bad for the whales.
Yes.
All of a sudden, this guy cares about birds and whales.
So we're gonna...
This drill baby drill asshole that's killing the fucking planet. Now all of a sudden he's like, oh no, what about the birds? The wind is bad for the birds. They get blown right out of the air. The birds can't handle it. They see a big windmill. They think it's a giant. They're like, oh please, Don Quixote, come and save me.
Try and have a policy where no windmills are being built, you know, off the coast.
Yeah, fuck windmills. There we go. So, like, supposedly the story behind this is that Trump has a golf course in Scotland. He owns a golf course. He owns many golf courses, right? But he owns one in Scotland, and somebody built like a wind farm close to it. And I don't know what problems that caused his golf courses, but he hates it, and he's hated wind ever since.
100 wind.
I mean, this is every bit of his policy is attached to some fucking real or perceived grievance that he has. He doesn't have an ideological bone in his body. He's just a con man with a bunch of vendettas against various people.
The people are going crazy. Nobody.
And if you're wondering if the United States is about to get stuck in the middle of those vendettas, yes, you would be correct. You would be correct. That's what just got elected. That's what's walking through the door. That's what we've got to look forward for the next 4 years. This guy's fucking vendettas against windmills and against who knows what.
He wants them, and they're very
Like, watch out if you're Rosie O'Donnell.
expensive. They don't work without subsidy. You don't want energy that needs subsidy. Energy is a good business. You don't need subsidy. But when you build these massive towers, I mean, they're 25 stories
You do need subsidies with new industries, dumbass.
tall, 40 stories. They have one
That's
7
what they're for.
tall. The blades, they take 3 ships to ship them. It's crazy. They're dangerous. You see what's happening up in the Massachusetts area with the whales, where they had 2 whales wash ashore in, I think, a 17-year period.
You know who's eating good tonight? Bobby Kennedy Jr. RFK. Tell RFK. 2 whales just washed up. Oh, hell yeah. He's going to get there. He's going to get down there immediately.
And now they had 14 this season. The windmills are driving the whales crazy, obviously.
Obviously, the windmills are driving the whales crazy. Obviously. Anybody can see that. Obviously. No, we don't even need to explain it. The windmills are driving the whales crazy, because of course they would. They're windmills, and the whales, the windmill in the air spins around, and the whale is out at sea, and it's sad. There's somewhere inland, there's a windmill, and the whale can feel the disturbance in the force. I don't know, chat. What is he talking about? What is bro yapping about?
And they had actually over, I think, 125 or something over a number of years.
God damn, Bobby Kennedy's going to be 125? He needs to get down there immediately with his chainsaw. You got some whale chopping to do.
For years, and we don't want that to happen. It's a disaster. It's amazing the way a true environmentalist would say, oh, we love wind. It sounds good, but that's about where it ends. You know, after 10 years, you have to redo them.
Yeah, it's just an aesthetic thing.
And what happens is they don't do that. They let them stand and they rust, and they say, because of the environment, I'm not a believer in this, but they say you can't, because it's a certain fiberglass, that the blades cannot be buried in earth, that's an environment. So what do you do with them? What do you do with them? And I don't know if you've ever gone to Palm Springs, California, or any of these places where you have long-term windmills standing. They're a disaster. They're rusting, rotting, closed, falling down. This is as you enter Palm Springs. And they put new ones next to them because nobody wants to take them down, because why should they take them down? It's very expensive to take them down, and you can't do anything with them because the blades, you can't bury them because of the environmental protection. We'll look at that. Doesn't make sense, but that's what they say.
It sounds like he's talking about nuclear waste.
So we are at the beginning of a great...
But no, there's no problems with oil. On the other hand, right? Oil burns clean and doesn't cause any problems at all.
Super chatted $5. Phone news reporting. Caravan of windmills, birds and whales beware.
Right? Watch out. If you're a bird or a whale, you're pretty much fucked either way. Birds or whales. Taking the L.
Beautiful golden age of business. And I think we're also at a golden age of common sense, because everything I'm saying to you, from a simple water faucet that doesn't allow water to come out.
Common sense, like the richest person in the world should be able to decide who wins the elections. Common sense.
Appropriately. To all of the other elements of...
And thank you, Izzy Sanchez, for the super chat.
What we do and what we're going to do. To take 50...
Wait, is his enemy the windmill or is his enemy the wind? Is he like anti the wind?
$50 to $60 trillion off our country's balance sheet because some man that has no idea what he's doing. He has no idea. You know it. I know it.
Those Santa Ana winds, folks, they crossed right over the border. Nobody invited them here. They're They're here anyway.
Democrats know it. What they did is a crime by allowing that to happen. And I'll bet you, if you asked him
Is he talking about the wall now?
today, how much acreage did you submit? Essentially, did you destroy? You destroyed the economic viability of drilling in the ocean. And with AI coming along and all, you know, a lot of people don't realize that AI is going to be a big thing.
Oh, yeah, that's what we need. Run on AI, Trump. Run on AI. See how that does for you.
You'll need double the electricity.
We're going to do more AI, folks. I know you love the AI. I know you want to see more AI art and everything in your advertisements. You want to talk to an AI chatbot. When you call customer service, we're going to have more AI for you.
Least that we have right now. So right now we produce electricity for many, many different things. AI is a very big deal in terms of the future. China is already building electric facilities, big, bold electric facilities. And you know how they're being fired up? With coal. They're being fired up with coal. And we're going to build bigger and
electric facilities.
People like
if he's talking about like data centers, right, in China, they're actually being powered. I mean, they may be, I don't know what they're using for energy, right? China's not got a great environmental record either, but they're it's weird though. He's anti-coal when it comes to China, pro-coal when it comes to West Virginia. Make it make sense. But anyway, China has their technology that they use for AI actually runs on a lot less power than the US's, right? It's geared towards that because they weren't, you know, the US has cut them off from chips.
That are doing the same thing as he is. I'll bet they don't do it as well because I know how he does it. But
his enemy is the wind, says Ziggy Lynch, because he doesn't want to compete with anything that blows more than him. Yeah, that's right. He was the famous.
They're doing a lot of things. The problem is they can't get the permits because I say build the plant with the building. So with the structure, build the plant, because if you go into the grids are old. So they said, that's a great idea. In other words, build your electric facility alongside of your plant. And you could have extra output if you want, because once you build it, you can make it larger pretty inexpensively. You could have extra output, which you'll sell to the public, but build it with the plant, and people are loving that idea. So we're going to have a lot of fun making America great again, and it's going to happen, I think, very, very quickly. It's already happened. So I would say this, and this has been pretty openly reported by the news. There's never been anything like what's happened in the list since we won the election. A couple of months since we won the election, the whole perception of the whole world is different. People from other countries have called me.
People are like, the U.S. is really fucked up. All right, so here is Claudia Sheinbaum and her response to the Gulf of America proposal by Trump.
Feliz que es día hoy, miércoles.
We have translation.
Trump hizo pues declaraciones acerca de cambiar.
But now there are freaking communist invading radicals.
All right, let's. Wait, no, Spanish auto-generated? Oh, no. Auto-translate? Do I really want to trust auto-translator?
Digo, obviamente, Golfo de México es reconocido el
Obviously, changing the Gulf of
nombre por Naciones Unidas.
Oh wait, it is translated, right? No.
Organismo de Naciones Unidas. Conocido el nombre por Naciones Unidas, un organismo de Naciones Unidas.
So the name, the Gulf of Mexico, is recognized by the United Nations.
Unidas, pero el siguiente, ¿por qué no le llamamos América Mexicana?
So yeah, the next question is, why don't we call it Mexican America? Right? Why don't we just call the United States Mexican?
Se oye bonito, ¿no?
Sounds nice.
Vamos a llamarle América Mexicana. Hay que esperar también a que llegue a la presidencia y de todas maneras hay derecho internacional y yo sigo pensando que va a haber buenas relaciones con el presidente.
Oh my God. Look, I wouldn't be counting on international law to save you from the madness of King Donald, right?
Trump. ¿En qué me baso?
This is why, as much as like I think that some of the stuff that he's saying may be a negotiation tactic, I wouldn't put it beyond the realm of possibility for this guy to try to grab some Lebensraum. But don't worry, folks, he's not a fascist, all right? No matter how many camps show up, no matter how many people are concentrated there, just remember, he's not a fascist. If you yourself get put in one of those camps, remember, this is not fascism. You're experiencing something different, just a deportation of
Pues en que hubo buenas relaciones.
Denaturalization,
El presidente López Obrador.
dehumanization. You're just experiencing that. It's not fascism. I think that there will be good relations with President Trump. What am I basing this on? Okay, so what she's saying is that AMLO got along with Trump, so I think things will be okay. She's downplaying, you know, the seriousness of Trump's, you know, threats, basically.
Pues en que hubo buenas relaciones con el presidente López Obrador.
All right.
But now there are freaking communist invading radicals.
Yeah, so what she's basically saying is if you want to play silly games, we can play silly games, right? But you're every bit as much of an ass clown as George W. Bush was when the United States was changing the name of French fries to freedom fries. It's pointless, and you're immature. And she's right.
They said, thank you. Thank you. The perception of the whole world is different. We're going to have to settle some big problems that are going on right now. We're going to have to settle up with Russia, Ukraine.
Mr. President, if we were to work under the assumption that you're serious about making Canada 51st state.
Okay, so now they're asking him about Canada. Are you serious about making Canada the 51st state?
The United States. The leader of the Conservative Party in Canada said, under no circumstance will it ever be the.
Yeah, Polnareff said no.
Maybe he won't win, but maybe he will. I don't.
Polnareff threatened to use his stand against Trump. He's going to summon Silver Chariot.
You had suggested.
Listen, I don't care what he says.
But Sir Lopez, you said you were considering military force to acquire Panama and Greenland. Are you also considering military force to annex and acquire Canada?
No, economic force, because.
Okay, so there we go. There we go. That's the one thing that you could argue. Somebody in here earlier was like, you know, he didn't make any threats. What are you talking? He's not threatening anyone. No, right? Okay, well, so he did back off. Like, you know, he is saying he's not planning to use military force against Canada, right? Only economic leverage. Only the threat of the country falling apart, right? That's all.
Canada and the United States, that would really be something. You get rid of that artificially drawn line, and you take a look at what that looks like.
You know, some of the states on the West and some of the states on the East are thinking the same thing, Donald, but they're not imagining the middle states being included. I say maybe the middle states get to do their own thing, right? They can be landlocked and they can do their own thing and they can have their own go at it, right? Because they don't need the liberal cities are just dragging them down, right? You'll be better off without the rest of the country, without access to the Atlantic and the Pacific Oceans. Well, I mean, I guess you've got the you know, I guess you've got the Gulf of Mexico and the Mississippi Delta, but.
And it would also be much better for national security. Don't forget, we basically protect Canada. But here's the problem with Canada. So many friends up there.
Wayne Gretzky, great hockey player.
I love the Canadian people. They're great. but we're spending hundreds of billions a year to protect it. We're spending hundreds of billions a year to take care of Canada. We lose in trade deficits. We're losing massive. We don't need their cars. You know, they make 20% of our cars. We don't need that. I'd rather make them in Detroit. We don't need the cars. We don't need their lumber. We have massive fields of lumber. We don't need their lumber. We have to unrestrict them because stupid people put, you know, restrictions on, but I can do that with an executive order. We don't need...
It's weird he says we don't need their lumber, and later on he's like, that'd be nice to have that lumber. Be goddamn nice to have that lumber.
Anything they
Have those natural resources. Yeah, it'd be pretty nice.
We don't need their dairy products.
Have that Northwest Passage. We can keep it safe, Canada.
We have more than they have. We don't need anything. So why are we losing $200 billion a year and more to protect Canada? And I said that to, as I called him, Governor Trudeau. I said, listen, what would happen if we didn't subsidize you, if we didn't, because we give them a lot of money.
Okay, so one thing, like, I feel like a lot of the, you know, calling Trump a genius and, you know, all this, a lot of this shit is overblown, right? And in terms of his campaign. That being said, like, that's posting, right? Calling Trudeau the governor is posting. He's shit posting, all right? That is the new meta. That is how people speak in the common vernacular. There's not a lot of Democrats that are on that level, right? The one name that comes to mind, maybe AOC, but the Democratic Party at large, they are not posting on that level.
We help them. As an example, we're buying icebreakers, and Canada wants to join us in the buying of icebreakers. I said, you know, we don't really want to have
We can chew our own gum, Canada. We don't need to buy icebreakers with you.
Partner.
We don't need to go halfsies on icebreakers. We can get our own flavor crystals.
Buying of icebreakers. We don't need a partner. But no right. Nope. No right. Here's what we have. We have a right not to help them with their financial difficulties because we owe $36 trillion too. We're going to start knocking it out pretty fast, but we're going to be able to do it because of energy and other things. But no right. No right. But why are we supporting a country, $200 billion plus a year? Our military is at their disposal. All of these other things, they should be a state. That's why
our military is at their disposal, motherfucker. Their foreign policy is at our disposal.
But now there are freaking communist invading radicals.
Told Trudeau when he came down, I said, what would happen if
their self-determination is at our disposal?
Didn't do it. He said Canada would dissolve. Canada wouldn't be able to function if we didn't take their 20% of our car market. You know, they send us hundreds of thousands of cars. They make a lot of money with that.
So, chat, Trump is saying that he's okay with cars being more expensive.
They send us a lot of other things that we don't need. We don't need their cars, and we don't need
their cars. We can pay more money. We can have the price go up for cars. That's okay.
Products. We don't need their milk. We got a lot.
Yeah, no. You're not paying too much for necessities, are you, chat? Nobody's paying. I remember that being a polled question during the election, and I remember everybody saying nobody's having trouble paying for their necessities.
Milk. We got a lot of everything. And we don't need...
And our milk doesn't come in bags, folks. Our milk comes in great big beautiful American jugs. I call them double D's, folks.
Any of it. So I said to him, well, why are we doing it? He said, I don't really know. He was unable to answer the question, but I can answer it. We're doing it because...
He's dumbfounded by your stupidity is what I would interpret that as, but go ahead.
And we're doing it
go off, King.
Because we like our neighbors, and we've been good neighbors. But we can't do it forever, and it's a tremendous amount of money.
Good neighbors. Yeah, that fucking threaten to leverage your financial influence to take the other one over. That's the best kind of neighbor. The neighbor that comes over. This is like Peter Griffin in the fucking Family Guy. This is Peter Griffin, like, invading his neighbor's pool, right? And just being like, he's part of Pretoria now. That's the kind of neighbor that we're talking about.
Why should we have a $200 billion deficit and add on to that many, many other things that we give them in terms of subsidy? And I said, that's okay to have if you're a state. But if you're another country, we don't want to have it. We're not going to have it with European Union either. European Union, we have a trade deficit of $350 billion. They don't take our cars. They don't take our farm product. They don't take any.
There's a reason why the European Union doesn't take a lot of shit from the United States, because the United States has incredibly low standards. The United States lacks regulation. The United States, many times the regulators are the businesses in that industry, right? That's who does the regulation. The people with a complete conflict of interest. So yeah, I could understand, right? In the same way that the United States doesn't take certain products from China, the European Union and Canada do not want certain projects from the United States.
Anything. And so we're not going to have it with them either. Brian, go ahead.
Yes. Happy New Year, by the way.
Thank you.
We have some breaking news. You may not be aware of this, but it looks like Canon has blocked the DO.
Okay, so there we go. There we go. There's Donald Trump for today. I hope you've enjoyed this preview of what the next 4 years is going to look like. All right, so if you've been enjoying the stream so far and you're watching me in Shorts chat, understand one thing, all right? This stream, the Shorts stream, is about to end. If you want to, I'm inviting you. I'm being very gracious and offering you an... Okay, I'll stop with the Trump accent, all right? I know it's not my... I know it's not my strong suit, chat. Trump as a Trump impersonator, but I'm going to give you the link to the other stream. You can feel free to come over and join us there. Watch the rest of the stream. We were going to be talking about the Young Turks and looks like possibly Matt Gaetz. Yeah, we're going to be talking about Legal Eagle's latest video on Matt Gaetz. So if that sounds interesting to you, click that link. Join us. Join us in the full screen stream if you so choose. If not, it's been nice hanging out. I am also on Twitch. I guess I should... Oh, I can't like... I can at least type the Twitch thing into their Twitch. Twitch.tv. I can't talk. I can't spell. Twitch.tv/... So the important thing here is that the Twitch address has CC after it. So make sure to type that in. And you can join us on Twitch if you want. You can join us either place. You can join us both places. Either way, if you're going to be leaving us, thanks for joining. It's been fun chatting with you, giving you a little preview of what the next 4 years are going to be like. I'll be, covering this stuff on and off as it happens. But yeah, feel free to join us. And we're going to take a look at what's going on today between David Pakman and Cenk Uygur of TYT. There's a little confrontation. How hard is David Pakman going to go on Cenk Uygur? Well, the only way you'll find out is by clicking that link and joining us. And with that, I will bid you adieu unless you choose to join us over on the mainstream. Good night, otherwise.